The night air over West River, Tennessee, shimmered with stadium lights and teenage dreams. It was Friday, game night, and the crowd roared as the school's cheer squad took the field. At the center of it all was Haley Brooks, 17, dancer, honor student, and aspiring model. Her smile seemed to pull the light toward her, the kind of girl everyone noticed but no one truly knew. After the final whistle, the stands emptied and laughter filled the parking lot. Haley hugged her friends, promised to meet them for breakfast the next morning, and drove off in her silver Honda Civic. A few security cameras caught her stopping at a gas station, alone, before heading home to her quiet neighborhood. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. By dawn, the sun crept through the Brooks family's blinds as her mother knocked on Haley's door. No answer. She called again. When she pushed the door open, the world seemed to tilt. Haley was lying on her bed, motionless, her favorite lavender candle burned down to wax. Her phone sat on the nightstand, screen black, alarm still set for 6 a.m. Paramedics arrived within minutes, but it was too late. The cheerful, vibrant teenager who had filled every room with energy was gone. At first glance, nothing seemed out of place. No broken locks, no sign of struggle. It almost looked like she had drifted peacefully to sleep. But the calmness of the scene made investigators uneasy. There was something wrong about how still everything was, how carefully arranged her blanket looked, how perfectly untouched the objects around her seemed. When the coroner's report came in, the small town's quiet turned into disbelief. Haley hadn't died naturally. There were faint marks on her neck, subtle but undeniable. The cause of death? Asphyxiation. The manner? Homicide. Detectives returned to the home and began the long process of retracing her final hours. They took her phone, laptop, and social media accounts for analysis. What they found painted a picture of a young girl caught in a dangerous web of obsession. Her ex-boyfriend, Jake Miller, had been sending her increasingly threatening messages over the past few months. Texts that blurred the line between love and control. Messages she had deleted, but not before they were backed up to the cloud. One text stood out, time-stamped just 2 days before her death. "You think you can move on without me? Wait and see." Police then uncovered something even stranger, footage from a motion-activated camera outside the Brooks home. At exactly 2:37 a.m., a shadow appeared near Haley's window. The figure didn't move for nearly 4 minutes, as if studying the room inside. Then the camera feed cut off abruptly, replaced by static. Power had been lost for only 8 minutes that night, just long enough for something terrible to happen. By morning, word had spread across West River High. Candlelight vigils appeared outside the school. Friends posted old dance videos, writing, "Fly high, Haley." News outlets descended on the small Tennessee town, calling it the deadly dance case. Rumors filled social media, whispers that someone had filmed the murder, that a video existed somewhere online. That evening, a package arrived at the sheriff's office with no return address. Inside was a single USB drive. It contained a short video, less than a minute long. The clip began with Haley dancing on the football field, her final routine. Then came a flash of darkness, a distorted figure and a faint sound, the echo of a camera shutter. Inside the West River Sheriff's Office, the hum of old computers and flickering lights gave the place a constant feeling of unease. Detectives had seen terrible things before, but the video from the anonymous USB drive was unlike anything they had encountered. It felt staged, edited, designed to torment. The clip began with footage from Haley's own cheer performance, taken from a strange, elevated angle, as if someone had been filming from the top bleachers without her knowledge. The transitions were abrupt, cutting to moments from her social media videos, then dissolving into a sequence that made everyone in the room hold their breath. A shadow standing by her bedroom window, exactly like the one seen in the home surveillance footage. But this version continued. The shadow turned toward the camera and smiled, then static. Digital forensics confirmed what no one wanted to hear. The file was created after Haley's death. Someone was still editing her life, and her death, into a movie. Detective Ray Thompson ordered a full-scale digital trace. The metadata led to a proxy server bouncing through multiple states, but the origin finally pointed toward Knoxville, just an hour away. The account used to upload the file had been created under the name JM94, the same initials as her ex-boyfriend Jake Miller. When officers arrived at Jake's off-campus apartment, they found him sitting in the dark, headphones on, scrolling through Haley's Instagram account, an account now flooded with memorial posts. On his laptop screen were hundreds of folders labeled Haley 1, Haley 2, Haley Private. Jake didn't resist arrest. He barely spoke. As investigators combed through his devices, they uncovered thousands of photos, videos, and screenshots of Haley dating back more than a year. He had been documenting her every move, school performances, practice sessions, even her route to class. It was a digital obsession, methodical and terrifying. But then something unexpected surfaced. The missing minutes. Hidden inside an encrypted folder, investigators found a corrupted video file labeled Final Cut MP4. It was only 28 seconds long, but it appeared to be filmed inside Haley's bedroom on the night of the murder. The angle was low, from near the floor, facing her bed. At first, the footage was silent, then a faint whisper broke through. A male voice. "You said forever." Seconds later, the clip ended in darkness. Forensics couldn't identify the full voice due to distortion, but it matched the vocal patterns of Jake's earlier recordings. And yet, the timeline didn't fit. The laptop Jake owned was never powered on during the hours Haley was killed. His alibi, backed by surveillance footage from a nearby gas station, showed him there at 2:40 a.m., exactly when the motion camera outside Haley's home had gone offline. Something didn't add up. As the investigation deepened, another clue emerged. A cloud storage login used from Jake's devices had also been accessed by an unknown IP address located in Atlanta, Georgia, 3 hours away. Someone else had been inside his accounts, posting, editing, and deleting files. Someone who seemed to know every detail of his obsession and was using it to frame him. Meanwhile, the town of West River began to turn against Jake. The local news branded him the cheerleader killer. Students posted his mugshot online with captions like, "Justice for Haley." But Detective Thompson wasn't convinced. Something about the footage felt too polished, too deliberately composed, like a performance. Then, late one night, the sheriff's office received another anonymous email. Attached was a single photograph. It showed Haley's dance studio, empty, but the mirrors reflected words written in red spray paint. "The final performance hasn't started yet." The red spray-painted message, "The final performance hasn't started yet," sent a chill through every officer in West River. Detective Ray Thompson stood in the empty dance studio, the smell of fresh paint hanging in the air. Whoever had written it had come prepared. No fingerprints, no footprints, no trace of entry. The message wasn't a threat. It was a promise. Digital forensics soon traced the anonymous email containing the photo to an IP address in Atlanta, Georgia. It belonged to an old storage unit, registered under the name Marcy Layton, a woman who died in 2019. The case was taking a turn from obsession into something darker, planned deception. When the Atlanta PD opened the storage unit, they found walls lined with photographs of Haley Brooks, printed in various sizes. Many were identical to images Jake Miller had taken months earlier, but these copies were enhanced, edited, layered with new backgrounds, as if someone had been creating a movie storyboard. In the corner, officers discovered a small workstation, a camera tripod, editing equipment, and a broken laptop with the screen cracked straight through the middle. Inside its memory drive, investigators found multiple partial video files, all bearing similar names: Scene 1, Scene 2, Scene 3. The first few seconds of each contained a blurred image of Haley dancing in the cheer studio, followed by overlays of text. She was perfect. She just needed direction. It became clear. Someone had been filming her life like a scripted production. The videos had been uploaded through the same proxy server that sent the earlier footage to police, meaning the same person who edited the USB video had likely created these files. But a new pattern began to emerge. The timestamps showed edits happening even after Jake's arrest. Whoever the real culprit was, they were still active. Detective Thompson drove to Atlanta, hoping to catch a lead. Through surveillance near the storage facility, they spotted a figure arriving at night. Tall, wearing a black hoodie, always carrying a camera bag. After a 3-night stakeout, the figure finally slipped up. A fingerprint lifted from the lock on the unit matched a name no one expected: Evan Crow, a freelance videographer who had once worked with the West River High Cheer Squad for a promotional video. Evan had been in Haley's orbit for months, always around the team, filming events and posting highlight reels on social media. To everyone, he was just another quiet guy behind the camera, invisible, harmless, forgettable. But when police searched his small apartment on the edge of Atlanta, they uncovered evidence that would shake the case wide open. Pinned on the walls were photos of Haley mid-dance, precise, graceful, perfectly lit. On a desk sat a storyboard labeled "The Deadly Dance Final Cut." Beneath it, a printed quote, "Real art demands sacrifice." In his computer were hundreds of folders, each dedicated to Haley. Among them, one stood out, rehearsalnight.mp4. The file was dated 2 nights before Haley's death. It showed Evan directing her during a practice shoot, asking her to repeat her dance routine again and again. She looked tired, uncomfortable, wanting to leave. The footage ended abruptly when she turned off the camera and said, "Enough, Evan. This isn't right." The final seconds showed him whispering something the microphone barely caught. "You don't get to walk out before the finale." Back in West River, news broke of Evan's connection to the case, but before police could issue an arrest warrant, he vanished. His car was found abandoned outside a motel near the Tennessee border, trunk open, camera missing. That same evening, another package arrived at the sheriff's office, smaller than the first. Inside, a mini DV tape and a note written in Haley's handwriting. The mini DV tape arrived without warning. No fingerprints, no return address. Just a single note that read, "The last dance is about to begin." Detective Ray Thompson placed it gently into an old playback unit at the lab. The screen flickered to life, its color distorted from age. The video began in a dimly lit room, Haley's bedroom, but this time the camera wasn't hidden. It was positioned deliberately, as though she knew she was being filmed. Haley appeared on screen, dressed casually, no makeup, hair loose. She seemed anxious, pacing near her dresser. The timestamp showed 10:14 p.m., just 3 hours before her estimated time of death. A man's voice, calm but commanding, came from behind the camera. "You said you wanted one more performance, let's finish it." Haley shook her head, her voice trembling. "I don't want this anymore, Evan, please stop." The camera zoomed closer, too close. Then suddenly the footage distorted, skipping frames, as though someone had recorded over parts of it. When it resumed, Haley was sitting on the edge of her bed, looking directly into the lens. Her face was pale. She whispered something almost inaudible. "He said he'd make everyone remember me." Then, silence. The video ended with a flash of static, and then an eerie image appeared. A still shot of Haley's dance studio, the same one where the red message had been painted. The words "Final Performance" flickered across the bottom of the screen before the footage cut out completely. Forensic experts studied every frame. There was no clear sign of Evan Crow's face, but his voice matched the audio recordings recovered from his Atlanta apartment. The timestamps also aligned perfectly with the estimated time of Haley's murder. It was the evidence they needed, and yet something felt off. The lighting in the footage didn't match the layout of Haley's real bedroom. The shadows were wrong. The placement of the window was mirrored. That's when Thompson realized this wasn't filmed in her actual room. It was a reconstruction. Someone had recreated Haley's bedroom to stage the scene. Detectives rushed back to the storage unit in Atlanta, searching for anything they might have missed. Behind a false wall panel, they discovered a hidden back room, small, soundproofed, and covered in thick black drapes. In the center stood a makeshift bedroom set, identical to Haley's, down to the lavender candle on the nightstand. On the wall hung a framed photograph of her smiling, but it was hand-signed in red ink, the final cut. They also found several camera lenses, lighting rigs, and a detailed script titled "The Deadly Dance," with each page describing Haley's final night scene by scene. The script ended with the words, "Scene 6, the girl fights back." But there was one chilling problem. The footage on the tape only went through Scene 5. When detectives searched the laptop found nearby, they discovered a partially deleted folder labeled Scene 6 Raw. It took hours for forensics to recover even a single frame. What emerged was a dark, shaky video showing the same room set, now empty. But a faint reflection in the mirror revealed something horrifying. A second person behind the camera, someone taller than Evan, wearing a police-issued tactical jacket. Detective Thompson froze. Every officer in the department wore the same uniform. That night, he ordered a full review of the case files and evidence logs. One file in particular stood out: the power outage report from the night Haley died. The officer who had responded to the Brooks neighborhood outage first, Deputy Alan Pierce, a 12-year veteran of the force and one of Thompson's closest friends. And just like that, the story's focus shifted from obsession to betrayal. Detective Ray Thompson sat alone in his car outside the sheriff's office long after midnight, the hum of the engine blending with his thoughts. The reflection of his badge glimmered faintly against the windshield, a reminder of what that symbol used to mean. Now, every time he looked at it, he wondered who among them had corrupted it. Deputy Alan Pierce had always been dependable, a quiet man, a family man, the kind who showed up first at a crime scene and left last. But when Thompson checked the time-stamped patrol logs from the night Haley Brooks was killed, the truth began to unravel. Pierce had reported to the power outage in Haley's neighborhood at 2:35 a.m., the same time the motion camera outside her window had gone offline. The outage had lasted only 8 minutes. In those 8 minutes, Haley Brooks died. Thompson pulled Pierce's phone records. There it was, 3 calls exchanged with an unlisted number in Atlanta, traced to a disposable phone purchased near Evan Crow's last known address. The connection was undeniable, but the question that haunted him was why. A search warrant for Pierce's home revealed a hidden compartment in his basement wall. Inside were storage boxes labeled training archives. At first glance, they looked like old police files, but inside were videotapes, dozens of them, each labeled with a name and date. Everyone featured young women from around Tennessee, many of them dancers, models, or cheerleaders, and everyone ended the same way, abruptly, mid-performance, followed by static. On the final tape, the label read simply, HB, Final Performance. When investigators played it, the screen filled with Haley's smiling face, the same scene from the USB video, only this time the camera pulled back farther, revealing Evan Crow filming, and behind him, Deputy Pierce watching silently, his badge glinting in the dim light. It was now clear. Pierce hadn't just covered up a murder, he had produced it. Through interrogation of digital evidence, the task force uncovered a chilling timeline. Pierce had met Evan months earlier when he'd been assigned as an off-duty security liaison for a local talent showcase. Evan had approached him about a true crime short film he was developing, one that blurred the lines between real and fictional events. Pierce, already obsessed with power and control, saw an opportunity. Together they began staging performances, selecting victims who fit a specific image: young, ambitious, trusting. Haley was supposed to be the last. Evan, driven by his twisted sense of art, had filmed the stage sequences to build what he called the Deadly Dance Project. But when Haley refused to continue, the fantasy shattered. Pierce had stepped in, using his authority to gain access to her home, cutting the power and finishing what Evan had started. When Thompson confronted Pierce with the evidence, the veteran officer barely flinched. His voice was calm, disturbingly composed. "You don't understand," Pierce said. "We didn't kill her. We immortalized her." He was arrested that night, but Evan Crow was still missing. The FBI joined the manhunt, tracing sightings of him through rural Georgia, where abandoned motels showed signs of his presence. Empty camera cases, burned tapes, fragments of film reels. The final breakthrough came days later when a convenience store clerk in Chattanooga reported a man matching Evan's description purchasing spray paint and gas. Surveillance footage showed him leaving a message on the counter, scrawled across a receipt. "The finale will be live." Hours later, every TV in West River flickered, hijacked by an untraceable signal. A single image appeared: Haley's dance studio, lights off, mirrors covered, and in the background, a shadow stepping into frame. The moment the broadcast cut out, panic rippled through West River. Within minutes, emergency lines were flooded. The local TV station had no explanation. Someone had hijacked their signal remotely. The chilling image of Haley's dance studio lingered in everyone's minds. Lights off, mirrors covered, and a shadow moving behind the camera. Detective Ray Thompson stood in the darkened operations room, surrounded by flickering monitors. For weeks, he had chased ghosts, from Tennessee to Atlanta to Georgia's backroads. But now the ghost had come home. The studio in the broadcast wasn't a random location. It was the original West River Dance Center, condemned months earlier after a fire. It had no electricity. No one should have been able to film there. SWAT units moved in by midnight. The building stood silent under a flickering streetlight, the faint hum of power coming from a portable generator inside. When the door was forced open, the air reeked of gasoline and mold. The mirrors were draped with black fabric, each marked with a number, Scene 1 through Scene 6. Cameras lined the walls, still recording. In the center of the room stood Evan Crow, calm, hands clasped, as though waiting for the curtain to rise. On the floor around him were old film reels, arranged in a perfect circle. He turned as the officers entered, smiling faintly, eyes hollow. "You made it to the finale," he said. He didn't resist arrest. When the team secured him, Thompson noticed a camera on a tripod still running, its red light blinking. The screen displayed a message looping over and over. Every story needs an ending. A search of the studio revealed dozens of burned film fragments and digital backups. Forensics pieced together what remained. The footage showed Pierce and Evan rehearsing scenes, setting up lighting and scripting dialogue. They weren't just documenting crimes. They were creating cinematic reenactments of their victims' final moments. Each reel bore the same twisted title card, The Deadly Dance, A Real Story. Evan's interview lasted 9 hours. His tone was almost academic, detached. He described the murders as performances of control, claiming the victims volunteered to be remembered forever. When asked about Haley Brooks, his expression finally changed. "Haley ruined the ending," he whispered. "She wasn't supposed to die. Pierce took over when I froze. He made it real." The confession closed the case, but it didn't end the nightmare. After Pierce's arrest, he was found dead in his holding cell, an apparent suicide. Written on the wall in marker were the words, "The story must go on." Evan Crow faced trial a year later, charged with multiple counts of murder, kidnapping, and obstruction. The courtroom overflowed with reporters. Clips from his own videos were played before a silent jury, his obsession, his direction, his madness, all immortalized by the lens he worshipped. When the verdict came, the judge's words echoed like a final act, life without parole. Outside the courthouse, Haley's parents stood together, holding a framed photo of their daughter. "She wanted to dance for a living," her mother said softly. "He took that away, but he didn't take her spirit." The town of West River tried to move on. The dance studio was demolished, replaced with a small memorial